I'm in the home of Kent and Elaine Anderson in Holly, a town in which a tornado came through. And they're going to speak to us a little bit about their experiences about that tornado, both what they were doing when it came and how the town came together, and even people from outside the town came together to help out afterwards. So, what were you doing? Can you relive the moments when that tornado came through?
I was in the kitchen cooking, and Elaine had just got home from Bible study.
Yeah, I came through town, just down the highway. It was raining and dark, and I wasn't really paying any attention other than my driving. Drove through town, went to our house. We lived over on the other side of town, and I opened the door, and the lights went out. And Kent said, we better get to the hallway. And by the time we got to the hallway, it was over. Our house was not damaged at all. My boss called me just a few minutes later, and he said, I hear there's a tornado in Holly. I said, no, I just came through. I just drove through. There's nothing going on. Well, then we started hearing the sirens and everything, and there definitely had been a bad tornado. This house got hit.
Yeah, it wasn't damaged as bad as the ones north and south of it.
Yeah.
It had a hole in the roof, and of course the windows and all the siding was damaged, and except for our kitchen windows was the only ones that wasn't damaged.
Mm-hmm. Let me clarify that where you were before was in a different house,
Right.
but this house did sustain a little bit of the damage.
Yeah.
This was my mother's house,
Mm-hmm.
and then
She was in the nursing home.
she was in the nursing home, and my dad had already passed, and then when she passed, well, we bought this house, and for my brother and sister, and anyway, then the next day, what was so amazing about it was that the farmers, brought in front-end loaders on their tractors and trucks and started cleaning up stuff, and we had some people come. I was outside in the backyard cleaning up, and I'd already come inside and sealed up all the windows with plywood that was broke out. Anyway, and this guy come by and he said, you need some help? And I said, well, that sure would be nice. And they were a mission group from Sterling, Colorado, and they're called ANTS, and ANTS stands for A Need to Serve. And he come in here and he cleaned this. There's about, 5 or 6 of them. And we had this yard cleaned up and nothing flat, and went next door and cleaned up that yard, and went over there and cleaned up another yard, and and that's just what they done. And then in the end, he was wanting to stay and help repair some of the houses. Well, he brought a crew, him and another guy, and stayed in this house. And we got electricity and we got water back to it finally, after a week or so, I guess it was. And so they stayed in the house. And we're still living over on First Street. And so, anyway, and they stayed here. And then a bunch of Mennonites came. Families, yeah, Mennonite families. There's about 5 families. And they stayed here, and the ladies cooked for them, and and they had a little trailer, and then they stayed upstairs, and then in the bedrooms and wherever they could bed down, that's where they stayed. And
there was no furniture in the house because we
done moved it all out, so it was bare. I mean, and
they pulled up the carpets, all the carpets. The Mennonite ladies painted the living room for they stayed here, so they just did that, and when after we got it all fixed back, we decided we'd buy it and move in.
But the house to the north of us and all the way up through this park, it was just, this house here, they had to re-brick it. They tore the roof plumb off of it. The next house, they tore the roof off of it, and they tore part of my sister's house on next to it off, and then it went up on north, and it really demolished that part of the area. But you ought to see it now. It's beautiful. They've all built new homes, and it is really nice up through there.
Yeah, I heard about this hurricane because as we've been traveling east, we stopped at places like Otero Junior College and what have you that says, Oh yeah, there was a hurricane there. We sent students out there, and it seems like a lot of places.
Yeah, a
You mentioned a
tornado.
couple, but it sounds like a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
places
Oh,
sent.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they sent even that first night. There were a lot of ambulances that came, you know,
Yeah.
from all surrounding towns.
Yeah.
There weren't all that many people hurt. One lady was in a trailer house, and she ended up in a tree, and she died. And her husband and little girl, but the husband and little girl were okay.
Well, the baby died too, didn't it?
No, just the little girl. Wasn't a baby,
Oh,
little
okay.
girl.
The mother died
And
too.
mother and the
Yeah.
little girl.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then another lady was in her house and broke her ribs and her collarbones, and she lived about 2 months, and then
Yeah.
she died.
Yeah.
But that was really, and it was really amazing because people were just not where they usually were. I had a really good friend that usually she sits in one chair, you know, in the evening. Well, she got up to go to the bathroom, and she was in the hall, and that chair that she usually sit, there was a wall just completely mashed it, and she wasn't there. There were people that were at Bible studies. There were kids that were out at youth group. So
Yeah.
one couple had gone to dinner over in Grenada and weren't home, and their house was completely demolished. And it was just kind of amazing. People weren't where they usually were, and
Yeah. God
God.
is so good.
yeah, He just protected
Yeah.
them.
Maybe add one little note here. You mentioned about OSHA coming, but the job already being done by that time. And
Yeah, yeah.
But can you elaborate on that?
You know, they came and they had these masks for dust, you know, and everybody's supposed to wear these masks and anyway, and they said, well, we haven't worn them so far, so we're not going to start now. And they just had everything. They was wanting them to do this and do that, you know, had certain regulations and
And
We
probably that's the way
yeah,
it's supposed to be done.
but not in a
people
small
just,
community, you know.
we
but-
everybody just jumped in
Yeah.
and started doing the work.
And the Salvation Army come in here and down at the senior center they set up and fed breakfast, dinner, and supper to all the workers.
just anybody that went in.
That wanted to eat there that could, you know, would. And then there was another outfit here in town. It's called Cowboys and Harleys, and they started cooking down on the corner by the old L&M Drug. And anyway, and they was just feeding people right and left. You know, I mean, they'd feed 300 or 400 people a night. You know. And-
Well, people would, like stores in Lamar would donate food, you know, the grocery stores, and send food over, and they'd cook it, and then people would just come in and eat. So
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that. It's inspiring to hear how people come together when the need arises.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
sure is.
Kirk Sinclair, Hiking Humanitarian.